Hey, if you're anything like me, then mornings can feel crazy. Everyone is tired and rushing and coming from behind. You're probably not your best self and you start your day in chaos. I have some good news. It doesn't have to be that way. You can't control a lot in life, but you can control how you start your day. That's why I created my brand new Start Your Day Planner. This planner is based on my #1 national best-selling book, Take Back Your Time, and it's the exact system that I use to guide me through a simple morning routine that takes just a few minutes. It helps me start my day calm, confident, and in control. Y'all, when you transform your mornings, you transform your days. And when you transform your days, you can truly transform your life. Now, the physical Start Your Day Planner doesn't come out until August, but I could not wait to get this system in your hands. So I created a free digital sample that you can get right now. Go to startyourdayplanner.com and get your free digital planner. Did I mention that it's free? Go to startyourdayplanner.com and get ready to start your day in a whole new way. Hey everyone, and welcome to Get Your Hopes Up. I'm Christy, Wright, and I'm so glad you're here. Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by power of the Holy Spirit." Our God is the God of hope, and he wants you to overflow with hope. So let's start our week by getting our hopes up again. Now today, we're talking about what to do in those times when you just feel forgotten. You're down, you're discouraged, you're defeated. Maybe you've got a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions. Many of you have written in and told me that the last 2 to 3 years of your life have mirrored mine in that God has taken you through a wilderness season where it just feels like things are extra hard, and maybe it's testing, maybe it's training, maybe it's preparation. I don't know, but it's just really, really hard. Maybe for you, it's been financial and God has just been stretching you in your finances where he's like, we're going to walk by faith. You've got to trust me every day for manna, every day to provide for you. And it is way tighter than you're used to or that you would ever want. Maybe for you, you've experienced loss. Maybe you've had your whole life uprooted where you've had to move across the country or just some other curveball that life or God has thrown your way. And it's just been hard. Or maybe it's just a tough day or a tough week. It doesn't have to be a whole season or multiple years. Just yesterday was Mother's Day, and that can bring up a lot of emotions for people. Good, hard, everything in between. And in these times where we get down and we get discouraged, or we feel sad, or we have a lot of emotions about something, in that weakness and vulnerability, it's really easy to feel like God has forgotten us. It's easy to feel like in our pain that God doesn't know. He doesn't care. He must be busy. He must be, taking a break from work, or maybe he's busy healing cancer or doing something more important. But surely he can't know about what's going on, because if he knew, he wouldn't let this happen, right? It makes me think of the example with Mary and Martha when Lazarus has just died. And Martha says to Jesus, if you'd been there, this wouldn't have happened. We feel like that, don't we? When we're going through really hard times or even just hard days. If you'd been there, well, why'd you let this happen, Lord? If you're good, why'd you let this happen? If you'd been there, you just feel like he's absent or at least distant, that he's indifferent. He doesn't know. He doesn't care. Maybe you think he's busy. There's been so many times in my life where I have gone through a hard season or a hard experience. And in that moment, I feel the exact same way. I just feel forgotten. Like God has somehow discarded me and I'm on my own. I've got to figure this out on my own. I'm going through this hard time on my own. And it just feels so lonely. There's one specific example that I'll never forget. This would have been in 2018. And during that year, I can tell you guys, I was going through a real humbling experience, real humbling year. And sometimes when you're walking with the Lord, humbling looks like humiliation. That's what it looks like. It looks like complete humiliation. And that's what that year felt like for me. It was one thing after another where I felt misunderstood, misrepresented, accused. There was injustice all around me. I was wronged. I was slighted. I was passed over. It was one thing after another. It was one of those things where you're like, I can't take another thing. And the hits just kept on coming. So that was the context for this one specific moment that I'll never forget. I'd been booked for a speaking event here in town. And that morning I drove over to the event. I'm sitting in the audience and I'm waiting, my turn to get called on stage. And the person that goes up in front of me knows me. And we're in a room of maybe, several hundred people. And I've got to be honest, when I'm sitting there waiting to go on stage, I'm already a little down because this is just a real hard season. I'm pretty discouraged, kind of beat down, but I'm trying to keep my spirits up and I'm ready to put my game face on. I'm going to deliver a great talk because that's what I'm there to do. I want to serve the audience. But as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her introduce me, she begins to do something that I think maybe she was trying to make some jokes, but mostly she just made fun of me a lot. And y'all, my heart sunk. Now, let me be clear. I've got a sense of humor. I'm sarcastic. I'm self-deprecating. I love having a good time and I can totally laugh at myself, but the jokes weren't quite like that. They weren't laughing with me. They were making fun of me. In fact, it was so obvious that the tension and the awkwardness in the room was palpable. No one even laughed. Everyone just looked very uncomfortable. And y'all, I felt heat flood my face. My chest is tight even now as I remember sitting there feeling so humiliated, so completely humiliated. And everything in me, of course, the Enneagram 8 in me wanted to fight back and bite back and put her at her place, but I didn't. I resisted, thankfully. I walked on the stage. I maintained my composure the best that I could. I put my shoulders back a little further and held my head a little higher and forced a smile. I paid a compliment to the woman who had just made fun of me and thanked her for introducing me. And then I continued with my talk and completed my session. But after my session, when I got back to my car, I just lost it. I just broke down. I just cried and cried and cried. And I even cried out to the Lord sitting there in my car. I can see it even now. I just said, do you even see me? Do you even see me? Do you even see what I'm going through? Do you see how hard this is? Do you see what just happened? Do you even see me? And I just cried and cried. Had one of those good cries, where you just got to let it all out. And then I wiped my tears, pulled myself together, drove back to work and went on with my day like we do, right? We have a good cry, get it all out and then pull it together. Well, later on that afternoon, I was walking across the 4th floor of our office building at the time, and there was a friend that was across the floor, and she saw me above the cubicles, and she waved me down, and she said, hey, and she started to kind of make her way towards me, seemed like with intention. She wanted to come talk to me. So I said, hey, and she walked up to me. She said, hey, I just want you to know that I was there at that event earlier today, and I saw what happened. And I just feel like I'm supposed to tell you that God sees you. He sees you. She didn't know what she was saying, but I did. I did. God wanted me to know He does see me. He sees me. When you're going through a hard time, a wilderness season, or a difficult experience, or you're going through something really tough with one of your kids, or you're going through something really hard, like maybe yesterday was really hard for you with Mother's Day, and it brings up all these emotions. When you're going through that, it's so easy to feel like God has forgotten you. It's so easy to feel like God has forgotten us. I think of this so much in parenting. So many times in parenting when I am at my wit's end, which feels like, every other day, y'all, it just feels like it's too much. It's too much. It's too much screaming. It's too much fighting. It's too much complaining. It's too much chaos. It's too much mess. It's too much. I can't handle it anymore. I remember so vividly feeling that when I had newborns. When you're so sleep deprived, you think you will never sleep again. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't live like this. I can't. It's too much. Or with my child that right now needs certain medicine and won't take the medicine because he has a phobia of medicine and he has a panic attack every single day he has to take his medicine. Dealing with that every morning. The tears, the fights, the screaming every morning. Or with my other child that eats about 3 foods. And we're just trying to get some type of nutrition in this child because food is really hard. Dinner time is hard. Breakfast is hard. All food all the time is hard. And then, of course, every day, they're just all irrational for no reason. As a mother, it is so easy to feel completely unappreciated. Now, I know all kids can act crazy, but let me just give you one example recently that happened. So Mary Grace is strong-willed, hard-headed. I know that's going to serve her well in life. As a parent, it makes me crazy. Let me just tell you about this one specific morning. So I get her backpack off the hook. I pack it with her lunchbox, her water bottle, and her blankie and her snack. And she comes downstairs to find her backpack ready to go to school and start screaming, wailing, thrashing, crying over this. Of course, I am dumbfounded. What have I done wrong now? What possibly could cause this reaction by the fact that I help you get ready for school? And once I get her calmed down enough to communicate with actual words, I discover she's mad that I've taken the backpack off the hook because she wanted to take the backpack off the hook. Okay, those hooks are new. I see you were excited about those hooks. I can meet you there, child. Okay. Hey, would you like mom to put this back on the hook so you can take it off? Okay, great. Sure. Hey, listen, I can't always say yes, but when I can say yes, I try to. Pick your battles, right? This is not a battle I'm willing to fight. I'll put the backpack back, man. I'll put it back, take it off, on, off. I don't care. So I put the backpack back. And she looks at me and refuses to get in the car. Screaming, stomping, mad that we had this whole experience and now the backpack is on the hook, but she didn't get to take off the hook first. Can I tell you something? This whole experience of getting your child ready for school, helping them, and then they get mad at you, and then you do exactly what they ask you to do, and then they're mad at you even more. That'll make you go insane, y'all. It'll make you go insane. Parenting is so defeating and discouraging and demoralizing. You feel alone. You feel overwhelmed. You feel, most of all, stinking exhausted. You're exhausted. And in these moments, it is so easy to feel like you're on your own and you've got to figure this out on your own. It's easy to feel like that God is busy and he's abandoned you and he's forgotten you and you are on your own to figure this out. But I just want to remind you of the truth that God spoke to me that day after I just broke down in my car. God sees you. He sees you right now. He sees exactly what you're going through. He knows exactly how you feel. He sees you right now in your pain, in your anxiety, in your frustration, in your exhaustion, in your fear, in your overwhelm, fighting with your kids, trying to do the right thing and nothing is right. Trying to clean, trying to work, trying to build, try to make money, try to pay your bills, trying to do everything you can to do the right thing, to serve everyone around you. He sees you. He sees you. You know, I love a story from Genesis about this idea that God sees us. And I want to give you some context. So you probably have heard of the story of Abraham and Sarah. Well, their names before God changed their name was Abram and Sarai. So God had spoken to Abram and told him he was going to have a son, even though he's like 1,000,000 years old. And it takes God a real long time to fulfill this promise, like long time, okay? 25 years. I'm hoping for you and I, God's not going to take 25 years to fulfill his promise to us, but God has a real track record of taking a long time. Well, during this long time between when God spoke the promise and fulfilled the promise through Isaac, during that middle time when Abram is waiting, Abram and Sarai decide to take matters into their own hands. Also something you or I may know something about. Okay, we get impatient. We decide to help God along. So they have this idea that Abram is going to sleep with Hagar, which is Sarai's maidservant, and have a baby that way. Now, I know this sounds super weird to us, but back then, apparently that was normal. So they feel like this is a great plan. They go along with it. Abram agrees. He sleeps with Hagar. She conceives. Okay. So then Hagar begins to despise Sarai. Sarai mistreats Hagar and she flees. Okay, so we're going to pick up here in Genesis 16, verse 7. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near the spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. Jumping ahead to verse 13, this is what Hagar responds after the Lord speaks to her. She says this, you are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. And you know what? He sees you too, friend. He sees you. There is this unbelievable comfort available to us that we often miss in this truth, this simple truth that he sees you. We don't need our problems to be solved, and we don't need to have all the answers to receive this comfort. We don't need everything to be perfect, and we don't even need the tension or the struggle or the pain to be relieved to receive this comfort. The comfort is available to us all day, every day, in any situation, and the comfort is this. God sees you. He sees you right now. He sees how hard you work. He hears the prayers you pray. He sees and knows every single tear you cry. He knows the fears that torment you, those that no one even knows about. He knows you intimately and perfectly and personally. He knows every hair on your head and every thought you have before you even think it. He sees you and he knows you. And he knows about this that you're going through. He knows how you feel and he cares. See, when we're going through a hard time, one of the first things we think is that God has abandoned us. So now not only is this thing hard, but it's hard and we have to face it alone. But we are never alone. You are never alone. He never leaves you and never forsakes you. He never abandons you, never stops watching over you, and he never, ever, ever, ever takes his eyes off of you. Just think about that. He never takes his eyes off of you. He sees you. You know, since that day, I have found such comfort in this truth that God sees me, so much so that I will say this out loud to myself and to God on a regular basis. I'll say it. I'll say, I know you see me. I know you see me right now. I know you see me working and trying so hard with my kids. I know you see how tired I am. I know you see me packing boxes in faith and moving the boxes from one side of the garage to the other because we still haven't moved. I know you see me, Lord. You see me cleaning up pee from little boys that can't aim in the toilet. You see me cry. You see me toss and turn and not be able to sleep at night. You see me. You see me. And y'all, I know that we would love for God to wave a magic wand and solve all of our problems and speed up fulfilling his promises to us. But this life doesn't work like that. Some things take time, like God's promises to be fulfilled and businesses to be built and little boys to stop being so gross. But in the meantime, we can find incredible comfort in remembering and declaring all the time that God sees us. God sees you. Would you say that right now out loud to yourself? I don't care where you are. No one's going to think you're weird. Just say it out loud wherever you are. I'm going to pause so you can say it. I want you to say right now, God, I know you see me. Would you say that? Maybe you might even pray a prayer about that right now. Maybe you would pause this episode and just talk to God. Tell him what has been going on and then remind him and yourself that he sees you. He knows all about this. And then rest in the comfort that if your good Heavenly Father knows about this thing and he sees you, which he does, then he can take care of it for you and he can comfort you in it. I don't know what you're going through, friend, and I don't know where you felt neglected or alone or invisible or forgotten or overlooked, but I want to remind you to remind yourself of the powerful comfort available to you at all times in remembering that God sees you. As Hagar in her fear and rejection and distress said, you are the God who sees me. I have now seen the one who sees me. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for Get Your Hopes Up. I love hanging out with you every Monday to help you get to know God, get closer to him, and get your hopes up again. Be sure to share this episode on Instagram and Facebook so other people can get their hopes up as well. And then follow the Christy Wright podcast channel so you never miss a new show. Then I'll see you next Monday for another new episode of Get Your Hopes Up.